Hi, welcome to another edition of Talk with Confidence. This is where we have inspirational conversations with inspirational people. Today we have an inspirational guest in studio with us. His name is Colonel Molefi Hlalele, better known as Sheriff. Mtati, how are you?
I'm good, sir. Yourself.
No, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
So today we're talking about your book, No Retreat, No Surrender. But before we get into the book, I just want to find out about the man, Colonel Molefi Hlalele. Can you tell us a little bit of your origins?
I was born and bred in the Free State, um, and then I moved to due to my studies and work Northwest. And then work put me in Gauteng. So the last 20 years or so, I've been based in Gauteng, Pretoria in particular. Um, my my background in the military, like from school, I don't know any other job except the military.
Mm.
So I've been involved in various areas of work within the military, but three main areas is I do training, or I conduct operations, or I command. Command is leadership, like the managing director of the company or the CEO.
Mm.
Yes, those are my three main areas the last 30 years that I've been in the military.
Wow, 30 years.
Yes, sir.
30 years. Now, going from where you were born and bred, in your book, you speak about your mother
Yes.
quite a lot. Can you tell us a little bit about her and some of the leadership qualities that you picked up from her?
My mom has always been inspirational to me and to my siblings
Mm.
as well. She was very firm and disciplinarian. Um, she expected nothing less than the best.
Mm.
Um, she was a single mother.
Mm.
When I was born, she was with her husband. They got divorced, and then I was the one who is like the eldest. However, she maintained to bring us up like that um, as a single mother, and so many things that I've learned from her. I mentioned in the book that other people usually ask me, especially my fellow white South Africans, who would like to understand uh, what do I mean when I say my mother ran a shebeen.
Mm.
And I went to school with my siblings to school with the money from the shipping.
Yeah.
I mentioned there that there were times where the police would come and raid not only our house but the village where I was staying, and we would be in trouble. Sometimes we'd have to hide the beer or the alcohol that was there, or the police would take it and drink it.
Mm.
And I would like to fight back because it is our property. Because I couldn't understand the politics of that time, and sometimes she would put us down and indicate that according to their law, this is illegal what she is doing. However, she is doing it for us to survive, and it's one of those lessons that I've learned from her. That if you're convinced or you're convicted on a purpose in life, you go for it, you'll achieve it. There are times where in achieving that or in trying to achieve what you want to achieve, there are some compromises on the way that you have to make.
Mm.
I mean, if you have a choice of going to prison because the police is engaging you, and in terms of the law that is wrong, uh, if there's an option of saying, otherwise we take 6 beers and then we live in peace, sometimes you go for the better option of saying, okay, for now it's fine, get that, I will replace it with the profit that I will make from the others, that will be the rest that will be set behind.
So I mean that era in terms of politics, and I mean I'm sure everybody can understand why she went that route. And I mean it was an era where there was so much hostility, especially towards black people. As a young man, growing up in that era, were you affiliated with any political organizations? Were you active politically?
Yes, and I think she was as well. However, in the house we never discussed politics. She was focused on education. Later on, as I start to look back and reflect on our lives, I start to realize, no, she was also involved.
Politically?
Yes.
Wow.
But she never told us. We, in the house or generally in our family, we are ANC. And the funny thing is, even in the book, I'm quoting that ANC funded my education, not only mine, but others as well. We grew up knowing that by virtue of where we were staying, because later on we moved from the village where we were to the township. So the part of the township where we were, it belonged to the ANC. The other part belonged to the IFP. So by virtue of being born in the area where we were, you're automatically an ANC.
Yeah.
So it is not like by choice that you want to be. You will find yourself even supporting and even their ideals. Yeah. So and it stood for the values that we could affiliate ourselves with. And it started to make sense previously why she was protecting us from politics and from some other activism and channeled us to go to school. And being kids, it was nice, and she was also heavy on church. Yeah. She baptized us in here, but later on when I went to stay with my uncle, he was Methodist, so we joined Methodist. So Sunday we did nothing else but church.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that, the spiritual aspect. You said so your mother is the one who introduced the spiritual aspect. In the book you mentioned a youth movement, a Christian youth movement that you joined. Can you tell us a little bit, how did you join and what was your experience in that particular movement?
Yes, she's from Dutch Reformed, but later on then I picked up that her mother, who is my grandmother, is actually Methodist, and the rest of the family, they are Romans and Methodists. So we started to be involved in the youth movements, even in the church. Would some of the activities would smuggle weapons within the church itself.
Wow. So the church was politically active as well.
Was politically active. The father who was in charge of the church also was actually MK. Yes. So
interesting time.
But you pick up these things. What is funny is that, like I usually say, nobody really would tell you directly to say, look, do this, take those weapons there, and do this and do that. Things will happen automatically.
Yeah.
It is that later on you'll realize, no, man, father knew of what was happening here. That is why he identified me and that one to go at the back to go and ship the boxes. Only found those boxes were actually weapons.
Wow.
And then we had to ship. But the following week when we come, those weapons have moved.
Yeah.
So it was an arms catch for the MK cadres who were coming from outside to come and take those weapons somewhere.
Wow.
This is a reflection but during the time when we were doing it, it was not clear to us. I went to secondary school, and at secondary school, during those times, we had what is called Bible Days. It was in February. I think it was from Dutch as well, and here the pastor who came to talk about the Bible Days and stuff. So I heard what he said, and it was with me. I went to high school. I found what is called a Youth for Christ movement, and then I joined them because I could relate to them.
Yeah.
They were speaking about God, His love for us and as young people, and the ethics, the morality, and it revived of what happened at secondary school. And that's when I realized actually what happened to me some time ago, it means I've given my life to Christ. What happened? Because I didn't understand until somebody came to say there was this lady that I was growing up with, and she would observe that change in me, and somehow she approached me and then said, no, listen here, I think you don't understand what happens to you. Because then I started to lose interest in politics as well. I started to lose interest I was a soccer wizard. And then she came and explained to me, listen, I've been sent to you to come and explain to you what happened. This is actually what is happening to you. And I would around 4 o'clock. I like my sleep. I don't compromise with it. But around 4 o'clock, I'm no longer sleeping. So I would wake up, go outside to the outside of the village, of the township. There were some nice trees. I would go and pray there.
Wow.
And it became my routine that every 4 o'clock in the morning I had to go there and pray.
Wow.
Somehow she happened to have known about it. As she explained, she said it's Holy Spirit. And then she was sent to me to come and explain, hey, listen here, you are now born again. This is what's happening to you. It is 1, 2, 1, 2, 1,
Wow,
2.
amazing.
And that's how I started to get involved in Youth for Christ. And started to go and tell others now.
Wow.
Hey, listen here, there is Christ who saves. He can save you. It does not matter how bad you were. And that's how, like I explained in the book, that's how then I started to get involved in evangelistic missions of YFC.
Wow. So you are a soldier in two divisions, in the spiritual realm, but also in the physical with the defense force. Now your journey in the defense force, especially the early years. Firstly, tell us about how you were recruited. What made you say, I want to actually join and serve? Was it for political reasons to try and play a role in the emancipation of South Africa, or was it just something innate that you knew that this is something I have to do? There's a section you also mentioned where you were almost recruited to become an agent in the police force. So take us from there, and then how you grew in the army.
So my earliest memory is at 15 years. I knew that I want to be a soldier.
Wow.
As early as that, we had a science teacher, Mr. Pule, and then he was teaching us the concept of trigonometry and geometry.
Yeah.
And then he said, when he asked us a question, we answer differently. And then we couldn't understand what he was saying. Then he said, when I ask you what is this, you say it's a boot of the soldiers when I put it down. The very same boot, when I put it on the table, you say it's a jacaranda bus. The jacaranda bus is like a Translax bus. Yeah. But it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Then I started to inquire, what is this soldier boots? Soldiers.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be one.
Wow.
At high school, the police came to recruit. I can understand the background where I come from, where I do not have much, like other South Africans. Here's a job opportunity, and I was doing maths and science at school, and they were looking for those candidates. But I always remember that my mother said, you should get educated, then life will be better. So I stick to the fact that no, I want to have matric, and then after matric, I will be able to can join them.
Yeah.
So, and then, but at high school, they used to have what is called a cadet, where soldiers would come and recruit us from Standard 8, Standard 9, and Standard 10. So I joined that cadet. I think I was 18, 19. And from that cadet, I was still good there. And then I was selected to go and attend selection for military.
Okay.
And then that's when now I went for a military training. But before that, there was a selection of like three weeks, if I remember, where the travel distances, Pretoria to Joburg. If you move from Joburg to Pretoria, your next meal is in Pretoria. You arrive late there, you don't eat.
Yeah, wow.
The next food will be in Potchefstroom.
Wow.
Given a week. So to walk from there to that distance.
That was part of the training.
That not yet training. It was a selection.
Wow.
It was a selection, and in between there are ambulances and some trucks and pizza and nice fried chicken. In between, if you want to give up, they tell you, here's an ambulance, we check you okay, go and have your nice chicken and coffee, you are out.
Wow, you are no longer eligible.
You are not eligible.
So they're taking the carers to see who really wants this.
Who really wants that.
And you really wanted it.
It was I can estimate what? 3,000 to 5,000 of us. but we ended up, because they wanted like 150.
So from 3,000.
From that 3,000, they wanted 150. So they would do all those sorts of. But remember, we're still young, fit, hungry for success, and we were focused. And that is why, actually, correction, I think they wanted 120, but we ended up 150 because it was like the core.
Yeah.
So they couldn't let others go.
Yeah, because they had done what was required of them.
What was required, and even went beyond. And then that is when we started training, then they said, okay, we'll compromise, we'll take 150.
So they were testing not just your physical stamina and ability, but also your mental.
Yes.
How important is that, especially in the army?
Remember, our training is more or less 85% mental and just 15% physical.
Is it?
Because you should be able to can do your work.
Yeah.
Having eaten like 1 week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But still continue to do your work.
Yeah.
That requires physical strength. You should be able to can do your work knowing that your cat have died yesterday or last week, or you've just buried your mother last month or last week.
Yeah.
So you should be mentally tough to can do that mission, complete it, come back home safe. Sometimes you are having explosives that you need to execute this mission with. Yeah. So if you are mentally disturbed or you're not mentally fit, you can do that. You won't be able. You are going to kill others. There are incidents where such things happened. That is why when we evaluate you, even when we throw you in the water or we throw you in the air or we doing the bush exercise and all that, it has nothing to do with physique. It's about your mind.
We're testing your mind.
We are testing your mind.
Can you handle this? Yeah.
Can you handle that?
Yeah.
They put you in such a manner. They make you hungry. When you're hungry, then they put food here.
Yeah.
And then it's about, there are some mental exercises as well that we teach you. How to be a small puppy, looking at the KFC bones, and then when you are being given, you say, no, I do not want them.
Yeah.
But when the owner take a corner there, then you go for it.
Yeah.
And then the corner, when the owner comes, you are innocent again. It's not you.
Yeah. The SADF. I mean, it's so fascinating because also the military has different, levels and intricacies. And in the beginning, you spoke about the different areas where you've been involved in. Can you tell us about maybe the training first? What is your position in that particular arena? What missions have you gone through in that particular arena?
In training, immediately after doing the basic training, the one that I said it's a selection, and after selection we did that training that I'll go in the book a little bit about. Then immediately after that, few of us were selected. I think it was 2 out of that whole gang to go back to training. Okay. Because of our performance. Oh. And then that's where I started to have the love of training. Yeah. And the military school where we are, because remember, training is a backbone of any institution, be it military or be it business. If you don't train your people, your business will fall very soon. And those who are training, the trainers must be the best of the best. So I indicated that the military school was only the best would be selected. And if you belong to that, it was the class of the elite. Wow. And it was good to belong after 2 years of just joining. Yeah. To belong to that class. Wow. And I fell in love with training from there. And then at one time I moved out to conduct operations, going to different parts of this country, and even going outside this country to other countries to go and represent the country there. Come back in the country again, have the responsibility to command. Yeah. Like on chapter 6 and 7, that's where now I indicate the command part of it. When I went down to go and command that side. Yeah. So the concept here is that if people are not properly trained, they won't be able to achieve the objectives. You look at the business itself, which by its very nature is coming out of the military setup or the military framework of doing
The
things.
structure, yeah.
Yes. Simple strategy is it's a military terminology from the Greeks, strategios.
Yeah.
And then it was taken over to the commerce to say it's a business strategy. The plan of the general,
Yeah.
how to conduct a campaign or how to conduct a battle.
Yeah.
So if you are a CEO of a company, you do not have a strategy, there is nothing that you can do.
Mm.
And the concept again in the business, you have to take certain decisions, and you cannot take those decisions if you do not have information. The same applies with us. I need to deploy my intelligence sources to get me what is the enemy thinking, what are the enemy activities, so that I can make certain decisions on how do I attack them or how do I defend myself. You cannot produce a product as a company if you do not have information of the consumer taste out there. You should be able to know the space where your environment where you are, and that is part of marketing. You get that marketing information, you make certain decisions here. Otherwise, you're going to produce a product that is not performing in the market.
Yeah.
You cannot go to the Arab world and sell bacon there.
Yeah.
Because your marketing information need to indicate that these are Muslims and they do not take pork, and therefore you do not prepare a product called pork. Instead, do something else. The military the same. We work that way. So when I train my people, I train them on the basis of, example, scenario planning. What type of scenario? Is it a disaster management? Will it be when South Africa goes to Mozambique? If it is a disaster in Mozambique or in Zimbabwe, this is how we are going to operate. If it's a conflict ridden with the rebels, this is how we are going to react. For us to take you for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks without food, but definitely water after 3 days because body need water, it is because we are preparing you. Like I said, we understand the concept that says 85% of our training is mental, and therefore 90% of the war, the war is only 10%, but 90% is training.
Yeah.
If you don't train your people, as you fight, you're going to have a problem. And therefore, if I have to deploy you to go to a battlefield somewhere, I should make sure that 90% you do it here at home. Because during training, the advantage is we are in charge of the dynamics. We can change this scenario there. We can stop and say, take a break. We can do. In the battlefield, there's no time for that.
There's none of that, yeah.
There's none for that. So if I can train you 90% at home here, in the battlefield, you're going to excel.
Wow. So, I mean, in the book, you also touch on different missions that you've been on without revealing too much. I know the military. There is information that is not for public consumption, but just some of the more memorable missions that you've been on.
Yes, I've been in the fighting missions where we have been missed with bullets. We have been in missions where it's just a pure training missions, peace support operations where we are there to talk peace, and moreover, South Africans they're good in such missions. People like you go to Asia, you come to Africa, everywhere people knows Mandela and as a peaceful person, and they see our flag, it reminds them of Mandela,
peace,
of peace. And one of the concepts that we use, for instance, we would go to this village and build a school for them or a clinic, or just bore hole for water for the animals and even for them, and that makes a difference.
So the army isn't just for holding guns and shooting the enemy. There's other battles, social battles that you engage in.
No, definitely. Allow me to quote the Chinese general 2,500 years ago. Who wrote The Art of War?
Sun Tzu.
He says the best part of the battle is not even to shoot any bullet.
To win without shooting.
To win without shooting. Which implies that, practical example, if you look at the big country, the US threatening maybe Lesotho. Lesotho, within 7 days, I'm going to bomb you. That's a diplomatic chaos. You know, diplomats and the president will have to stand up and try to, hey, Donald Trump, cool down, or now it's Joe Biden, cool down. Right, same scenario. Let us reverse it. A small country says to a big country, listen here, I give you two days, get out of Afghanistan. No, there's no implications. This one is true. And the same here. We remember we are the America of Africa. Yeah, that's how they view us. And our actions speaks volume when we're out there with this uniform. And going out to the community and doing good deeds have huge implications. The military of today is not like before, as we have already explained, where you'll be that side, I'll be this side, I'll be shooting at you, you'll be shooting at me. It is possible as commanders to have scenarios where you go into this particular place, part of your people will be holding guns for security purposes and to shoot those who deserve to be shot at, and in the same time, part of your people will be playing soccer and different games with the local people. And connecting with them, playing darts and soccer and this. And at the same time, part of them will be helping them out to collect wood and water and this and that. And on the other hand, part of them will be teachers in their schools. Those schools that we build, there's not enough teachers. We bring in teachers. They teach there. We speak with the Department of Agriculture or Land now. They bring in agriculturists to come and teach the people that we are keeping peace how to plant the food, because food security is very important. We foresee we are going to be in this particular country for a year or for 2 or for 5 years, and therefore they're going to need food beyond what we're giving them now. We give them food for short term, but for long term they need to plant theirs.
They need to learn how to.
They need to learn.
Grow their own.
To grow their own crop. However, in the same breath, the former Secretary General of the UN, Kofi Annan, he used to caution us to say, as peacekeepers, we should not think we know the places where we are going to better than the inhabitants.
The people there, yes.
The people that are there. So in this scenario of agriculture that I've just made an example of, it will always be advisable to ask them, what is it that grows best there? Be it cassava or corn or this or that. And then in collaboration with them, then we work together to make sure that we build that. Because you may be coming with good intentions, and your good intentions might turn against you.
May do more harm.
May do more harm. We have examples in Somalia. The Americans, when they were passing by, they see hungry people, the kids on the street asking for food, and then they take their own food, they give it to those kids. I want to find there is pork in there. The meat is pork. And then these kids take it home, they eat, they give their parents, and then they're Muslims. And then they feel the Americans are undermining them and their religion and their culture, and hence they started to retaliate. And then hence the scenario of Somalia. So many examples that I can give you where we went in, we can see that they are drinking water with the animals in the river somewhere. So we come in, we drill boreholes close here in the village for them to have their own clean water. It's a good act. But in terms of their way of doing things, their tradition and culture, that brings conflict. That's beside the conflict of the other village says we are favoring this other village, because that is another story again. But here you learn that ladies are the ones that are supposed to collect wood.
So now you're interfering with the whole social system. So you need to understand the area before you do.
Yes, because now these ladies go to the river. It's a time for them to cool down. A little bit of gossip here and there. And then now, for the fact that they spoke, it's sweet, they can go home now, they are sorted. But now you bring water here, you deny them that opportunity of socializing.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Because now,
that's very interesting.
When you want to go to the river and leave the tap here, what do you mean? No, tap water into the house, you cook, you stay only in the house. And that escalates family violence.
Because now they don't have that almost like a therapy session amongst themselves,
Exactly.
where they
Yes.
get to
Yeah.
to wind down and actually release some of their stresses.
Yes,
and thoughts.
that's basically that, and therefore you need to understand those dynamics, and it takes time. It's not something that you go in, you already. Each scenario is each situation is different, and as a result, you should make sure that you do not work for them, but you work in conjunction
with them.
And I'm talking of experience that we had to also make those mistakes, and we learned afterwards from other nations as well, and other nations are learning from us as well. So, no, that's not how you do it. That's how you do it.
Oh.
You go in there, you can realize they need clinic, and then you build clinic, but where the doctors and the nurses are going to
there no. So you've almost put a bandage on a bullet wound, and it cannot help. So you need to first treat the wound itself and say, I need to do this, and then it can heal. Wow, that's amazing. That's very interesting.
And that is how you make sure that you understand that. And so many things, like in the book, I'm talking of that African health system.
Yes.
How we're doing. So you need to understand how their health is. You cannot just come and bring the Western clinic to them.
Yeah.
They have their own way of doing things.
They've got their own herbs, their own way of healing, and you can go there and perhaps even undermine their system, but it's a system that can be working for them.
Exactly. No, that's true.
You also mentioned a unit that you specifically trained, where you were deployed to.
Yeah.
It ended up being called the sheriff unit. Can you tell us about the sheriff unit? How you got the name sheriff and then the sheriff unit?
we had challenges in the deployment areas, and then it was not only South Africa but other nations as well. And I was called in and said, listen, we have issues with regard to the deployment missions and stuff. Out of this, some of these things that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then I was sent to this particular battalion to go and command. Two things: to prepare them. One, discipline. Two, to prepare them to do their work when they're outside. And these were the two missions that I had. But before I can do that, there's a whole lot of stumbling blocks that were there, and the foundation that I had to. So on my arrival, I'm not aware of that. But on my arrival, as I was addressing them, apparently I said, there's a new sheriff in town, and you don't want. And then 2-3 months down the line, my wife was at him, because I've always heard them talking about the sheriff, but I didn't know who's that.
Yeah.
My wife is telling me they actually say you. What? Then I got stuck with with that name, because I'm that type of person who's coming from a black and white background. Either something is right or it's wrong. Simple. It's correct, it's right. Or it's wrong, there is no way. I do not have a middle ground. It can be a good thing, it can be not so much of a good thing. But I had to take them from a place where they were to a place where they could perform as expected. And headquarters came, evaluated, and they were happy with the results. And they went out to the missions out. And the mission that I was supposed to take for 3 years ended up being 6 years.
Wow!
Because I really enjoyed to be, my family also enjoyed to be there. We were the integral part of the ecosystem of the society. And even when we left, it was a painful experience. Because now they were used to live there. But like I said, for us to there's one mission that I had in mind. I knew that for you to can perform your work, you need to be trained. And therefore, as a trainer, I would prepare them to be as if they're in the missions. So I knew about the 90-10 principle, and therefore I was hard on them for 90%, so that 10% in the field can just be a walkover for them. And hence, even in the book, I'm saying, I'm happy that I never even lost a soul in the battlefield. In the battlefield.
Amazing. One of the core responsibilities of leadership is to produce other leaders. Are there any leaders that came from that particular battalion that you are especially proud of?
A lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them in key positions today.
Wow.
I understood that I cannot be able to perform at the required level if everything is around me. It's about me. It's all. I understand that as being a cult leadership.
Yeah.
And therefore, I made sure that the first line of leadership around me, they understand how I want things to be, how I think, how I want to do things. I empowered them. And until to a level where they could make decisions independent of me.
Wow.
You would go in and you want to do 1, 2, 3. They would tell you that, if commander was here, would say yes or would say no.
Wow.
And then they continued that way. To me, I'm interested in you making a decision.
Empowering you to be a leader.
To be a leader. Whether that decision was bad or was right, we'll talk it afterwards. But it is best for you to make a decision.
Yeah.
Because in making decisions, that's how you grow. If it was a right decision, should the same scenario come up in the future, you know what to do.
Yeah.
If it was a wrong decision, and then I will indicate and show you the reasons why. And then in the future, should it come, then you know, now that time it was wrong, now I make a decision.
Yeah.
1, 2, it also binds me to say, should you make the same decision again, which I said was right previously, but now I want to change.
Yeah.
Then they will challenge me to say, oh, wait.
Yeah.
I took the same decision previously. You said it was right.
Yeah.
Why now? What have changed?
Yeah.
So either I'm the one who have to correct, oh, sorry, carry on like that, or the senior dynamics have now changed. The environment have changed. 1, 2, 1, 2, and I built that, and there were 6 members that I surrounded myself with. That every 6 months there will be my second in command. So if I'm not there, he or she, 3 boys, 3 girls.
Yeah.
And they call them the sheriff team.
Yeah.
So today, one of them is in charge of that unit as I'm speaking now, and then others came went throughout the whole country here in key positions.
Amazing.
And they are doing a fantastic job.
Awesome. Now, 2 elements I want us to touch on before we close. You spoke about training. In the book, you also mentioned, in your bio, you also mentioned some of your educational achievements. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I studied. I had a passion to. It was difficult for me to complete my matric because of political activities and stuff like. Because I had difficulty balancing between my personal life, Christian life, and political activities that I mentioned earlier on. And on matric level, a couple of us, the core of that particular unit that was operating, we were supposed to be arrested. And then I went to the matric class just to go and register for a week, then I disappeared. I came the last week to come and write exams. I think mid-year, around April, because they wanted my ID. So I had to submit that. Then I came to write the exam. So the plan was, after the exam, they're going to lock us up. They were waiting outside as I was writing the last paper. And funny enough, these guys, they didn't know us. They knew about us, they had our pictures, but they've never met us. I think they were expecting bigger guys, And then as I was going out, they asked me, where's Molefi Hlalele? How far? I said, no, he's still busy.
And you made your getaway.
And then when I took a corner, I was gone. I was gone.
Yeah.
And then that part. So I went to training, and even during my training, I registered with UNISA. I continued to study. Ever since that time till now, I haven't stopped studying.
Yeah.
I would study from short courses to a diploma to a degree. I studied with UCT, VETS, UNISA, University of Pretoria. Whatever opportunity that I would get, I would study. I've done a diploma with War College, with Army College, with UNIS. I studied bachelor's in business administration, BBA. With UP, I studied SMP senior management program. With VETS, I studied honors in management. I did another honors again in business admin with UCT. I am submitting next month my thesis of my MBA, executive masters. Now, it was supposed to be in December, but because of COVID, we requested extension. I'll be finishing it in 15th March. It's my submission. So awesome. I intend to register a PhD immediately after my masters. I continue to study as an example. Even when I was in the unit, I continue to study as an example to my kids, as an example to my subordinates, to show them it does not matter how busy you can be. You have an opportunity to study, because study gives you knowledge. However, there's one thing that I usually caution about. It does not matter if I have 6 degrees. The fact of the matter is, if your knowledge does not help you to empower others, then your degrees means nothing.
Meaningless. Wow.
Are just meaningless. For me to make you feel little because I think I'm better than you because I have qualifications, it is not correct. It is wrong, and that's what I even mentioned in the book, to say it is not the books that do the job. It's a human being. And if somebody who's in charge of you, your supervisor, is less educated than you, that is not a reason for you to disrespect that particular person. Because then, if you're my senior and I'm more qualified than you, and I'm disrespecting you on the basis that I'm having the degree you do not have, I'm challenging you now to retaliate, and then you make my life difficult instead of supporting me in my journey to learn. So education should teach us to be humble, to be much more wiser and clever. Practical example that I usually use is that if a small 9 years old, 8 years old child can come here and tell me, you know what, 1 plus 1 is 9. I'm not going to scold at him or her to say, no, you're stupid, you are this or that. I would rather wait for him to grow and to comprehend it in the future, to say, actually, I was wrong that time. Now and the same applies when you engage with a person that you can see the level of knowledge is known. Instead of trying to show off or making that person feel bad, you'd rather perhaps stand down and acknowledge that, okay, it's fine. Now I hear your position. You have that point of view, it's yours, it's fine. But can we look at it also from this particular angle? Because you might win over that person. Yes, for that time, that person will win the argument for that time. But tomorrow, he might think, I said, listen here, I think I was wrong. Your view is the one that is correct. And that is the level of tolerance that even today we need to. And in my work, we call it a mission command, where I don't tell you how to do something. I just tell you, I want you to do this at this time. The rest, the mechanics of it, it's up to you.
And that's where the growth happens.
Because if I say, I want you to do this, and I give you the resources, say money or vehicle or to do this, it is you are going to work it out. How are you going to achieve it by that time that I gave you, that target time? If you need some additional resources, it is your responsibility to come back to me again to say, you say I should move from Pretoria to Johannesburg, but I do not have a vehicle. Can I get the permission to use aeroplane or this particular vehicle or that and that? And that gives you a chance to grow.
Amazing. In closing, I'd like us to talk about Molefi, Sheriff, Hlalele, the family man. Can you tell us a little bit about your wife and your kids who you speak so passionately about in the book?
I met her 30 years or so ago in the church. I happen to have been a church choir. I say this, people... A conductor. A church choir conductor. And I say this and people laugh at me. Wow. And I'm not gifted in music. She was singing there, and that's how we met. And proposed, married her, 3 kids today. The first one, Tembi, she's a lawyer. She'll be graduating next year. The second one, a psychologist, Pina. And the last one that we got when we were down, when I was commanding that site, is Dodo, an aspiring scientist. We talk science when we were together, the planetary movements and this and that. Because my hobby is science. Since I did science at school, just that I couldn't pursue my BSc. But my heart is still in science. So I usually tell them, if you do not get education, and this is the advice that I got from my mother, you are going to be a nanny for your own peers. Not that I mean disrespect to the nannies or to our housekeepers, but the mission is there is you would be cleaning for your own peers who would be deciding how much you get. But if you're educated, you sign your own check.
You've got more options.
You've got more options. Hence, I keep on pushing them to say there is no way I can have a master's in the house and you with younger brains you do not have it. So the only exit out of this house is when you have a master's. Then you can go and work. But without that, no, nothing. And I thank God that thus far that's what they're doing, and they're pursuing the studies, and I motivate where I can. And when I do talks or I do interviews like this, they're checking there and they'll be asking me questions. Why did you see this? Why did you see that? And by so doing, I'm not only a leader of society, but I'm also a leader in the house. Tembi is very inquisitive. Even the little one, very inquisitive, and will be asking. When we're in the cousins or the aunties, they will be terminating, hey, shut up, you're still young. And I will tell them, no, give them a chance to express themselves. That's when now you understand how they think, and therefore you can guide them properly. If you say they should shut up as kids, they will shut up. But you haven't influenced how they feel or how they think. They will go out there to the streets. They will find their friends who will give them another advice. So as a parent, you have an option. Do you want your kid to be advised by you or to be advised by the friends? So you can just imagine what type of advice that when you get from the friends. Yes.
Amazing. They say that example is the best form of leadership, and Colonel, you're an example to all of us. Thank you for writing this book. Where can people get it?
Directly from me. They can get it there. The details will be on the screen. Currently, I'm also making arrangements with CNA exclusive books, the airports, critical airports around the country and internationally. They can get it on Amazon, Alibaba, as well as all the platforms, online platforms. They can get it from there online.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching Talk with Confidence, another inspirational show. Do tune in next time again, right here on Global Conference Television. Eitada.